Hey, what's up, guys? Today is, I believe it's episode 4 of our series, being a follower of Christ versus being just a Christian, or just claiming the title of being a Christian. And we're talking about what's the difference, what does it mean, how to follow Christ, how to truly follow Christ rather than just claim the title of being a Christian. And today we're actually talking about crucifying the flesh and rising with Christ. And this is just a passage I really, really love. We're going to start in Romans chapter 6, 5 through 8. Okay, so here it says, "For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now, if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him." So Paul was actually writing, if you read verse 4, we know that Paul was writing about baptism. He's saying the reason of baptism, what it represents, why we should be baptized, and just like how that relationship is for us between God, in his death and his resurrection. Verse 4 says, "Therefore we are buried with him by baptism unto death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life." So, he's talking about baptism here, and he's saying when you're being baptized and you rise up, you're being a new creature. This is a public show of newness, rising to new life, right? And if you continue on verse 7 and 8, "For he that is dead is freed from sin," the death being submerged in water during baptism, and you were then freed from sin, right? Which is being risen with Christ. "Now if he be dead with Christ, we believe we shall also live with him, being resurrected with Christ through the death and separation of our sin." Okay? Now we take this idea of being baptized, buried and rising with Christ, being separated from our sin and being just surrounded by God, right? We're putting the old man away, and we're becoming a new spirit in Christ. We're just letting go of these sinful behaviors here. And in Romans 8 verse 5, he says exactly what it means to crucify the flesh. And he gives a pretty good example here. And he says, "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit." So being crucified, or crucifying the flesh rather, is to mind the things of the Spirit rather than things of the flesh. And this could be, a lot of this comes down to James chapter 3 verse 7. He says, "Submit to God, resist evil, and flee from the devil." So submitting to God is having a mind of things that are of the Spirit, having mind of things that are after God rather than things after the flesh. Things after the flesh being temptations, that being lust or gluttony or prideful thoughts, having a high heart, but rather having things that are after the Spirit, things that are after God, after his will, rather than your own. Now, if we turn back a little bit, back to Luke chapter 9, verse 23 and 24, he says, "And he said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." And it's really important to point out the daily part of this. It's not just a one-time action. Submitting to God is something we have to do every day. You know, am I submitting to God today? Am I submitting to God in this moment with my actions right now? Or am I following after what I want in this very moment? You know what I mean? If any man will come after me, let him deny himself. Deny himself, having not a mind of the flesh, as was spoken in Romans 8 chapter 5, but after things of the Spirit. You know, deny the flesh to chase the Spirit. Verse 24 takes a little further and says, whoever will save his life shall lose it, those who are chasing the flesh. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, those who chase the Spirit, the same shall save it. And then one last verse here. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? You know, chasing those things that are of the flesh, you know, those don't last. Those don't last, you know, but Christ promises an eternity for chasing after him. He promises, you know, everlasting life with him, you know, and that will last. God says to set your treasures up above where rust and moth and thief do not break in and steal, and not treasures of the world. Don't set your treasures here where thieves do break in and steal, rust and moths do destroy, you know. But he says, set your treasures up above. Search what God has in store. Search for the kingdom with your whole heart. And that is part of crucifying the flesh, is to search out the Lord with your whole heart and your whole being, and to turn away from these temptations and these sins. And like James 3, I think verse 7 says, to submit to God. Flee from the evil, return from evil and flee from the devil. Okay? I know this wasn't probably my best worded video so far. It's only been a couple videos, and it's probably not my best one. I also know it's probably also longer. It's been longer than I meant for it to be. Just caught up with a few things, and I've been in a little bit of a rut the last few days, to be quite honest. So y'all just pray for me. I really want to learn to be better with my words. You know, I have a stutter. I have a lisp. You know, I'm not good with words, to be quite honest. So y'all just pray for me to do better. To you know, I'm still getting my foot in the door. I understand that. I will get better. I think God. I have faith that God will use these videos eventually to really help people, to really touch people, and to just bless people. I really hope so. But anyways, if y'all watch this video, I really appreciate you guys. God bless. Y'all take care, okay?